How did you start writing? Did you write short stories or articles before you actually got to the point of publishing?
Yeah, how did I start writing? I came from a household where nobody really read books. We didn't have books in our house apart from the old gardening manual that my dad used to read. And then when I was about 7 years old, they opened a little library in Portsmouth, the Oldham and Lacey Library. And my best friend's mother, who was an avid reader, took me to this library. And I always remember today, it's about this size, you know, and I walked into it and there was this room full of books and they were all free. And I discovered Enid Blyton and she changed my life, you know. It was a wonderful world of escape, and from that moment I want to be a writer. I want to write books. So I wrote fiction, I wrote stories like a lot of children do, and I wrote my first novel about age 11. I don't know what happened to it, got tucked out along the way somewhere. And then, you know, I sort of life progresses. It was never a career aspiration to be a professional writer. It wasn't done, it wasn't a thing. So, but I always had that urge to write, and I ended up in marketing and PR. I got a marketing degree while I was still working on day release, and I ended up in marketing PR, and then I started my own business, my own agency, and I was writing for a living in that I was writing copywriting, newsletters, articles, PR, all of that sort of thing. And then I wrote some business books. I wrote some marketing and communication books and articles. So I was always writing, always liked writing. And it wasn't until 1988 that I thought, I really ought to write that fiction novel now. That was still back of my mind. And I started by writing historical sagas. Not quite sure why, but I did. I wrote historical sagas, and I wrote 3 of them, and I sent them off to agents, and they didn't get anywhere. And I kept finding that as I was writing them, this sort of crime element kept creeping in. And I thought sort of one day, why am I writing historical sagas when I read crime fiction? Why aren't I writing crime fiction? So that's when I turned my hand to writing crime fiction and Andy Horton. And it took me about 18 years before I got published, from when I started writing fiction till I got published, which is a long time, and I could have given up any time along the way, of course. But when I look back at it, those early years of the historical fiction and shaping a crime novel, they were an apprenticeship. They were really learning my craft and finding my style and my voice. I didn't know, it's like painting, isn't it? You don't pick up a paintbrush and say, well, I'm going to have a Royal Academy exhibition next year and be famous, because you're not, are you? It's like anything. You have to learn how to do it. So I was learning my craft, I was finding my style, I was finding my voice, and it wasn't until I wrote from the male point of view, with the male point of view, that I found that this is what works for me. So all of my books are written from the male point of view. Obviously, I don't know what that makes me, a closet male or something, but they all have a male protagonist, not a female. Doesn't mean to say I will never have a female protagonist, but I'm much more comfortable writing with a male lead, although there are obviously lots of strong females and females in my novels. So I think that once you have that itch to write, it's always there, and I enjoy it very much, yeah.